An information technology team at the IRS has won recognition for a system that lets taxpayers submit correspondence online. More than 250,000 pieces of mail have already been avoided, and officials expect a rate of 125 million pieces of digital mail a year. For their work and its impact on tax processing efficiency, they're finalists in this year's Service to America Medals program. Joining on behalf of the team, Project Director Wanda Brown. Ms. Brown, good to have you on.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we should acknowledge team members Darnita Trower and Gerald Johnson were cohorts with you in this particular project. It sounds like you took a capability that was existing already for internal IRS use and kind of turned it outward. Tell us more about what you did.
Sure. We started off with 10 notices that were directed to the taxpayer, and we were able to put a link on that notice and provide the taxpayer the capability to access that link and be able to send an uploaded version of their documentation directly to the IRS. Basically had the opportunity to take that capability and scale it, right? The IRS sends out about 3,600 different notices and letters to the taxpayers. We were able to provide that capability through a link on the irs.gov for a taxpayer to respond to any notice or letter that they receive from the IRS directly through uploading their documents.
Now, that uploading was originally devised during the pandemic for employees, right?
Yes, absolutely. We were able to receive correspondence from our employees during the pandemic. They were able to directly upload, and we took that capability and we expanded upon that significantly for the taxpayers' use.
Now, the taxpayer then gets a notice, one of 3,600 types of notices. I'm surprised it's only 3,600. And if their response is like a letter back to the IRS, then they presumably have to create that in a way that can be uploaded. What about the people that have to handwrite something? Can they scan it, or how does that work?
They can handwrite it, and they can scan it. They can take a picture of it and then upload it to the IRS.
They can use their phone, actually, and take a picture of it.
Absolutely.
Wow. And what was involved in expanding the upload and the server and the acceptance storage and all of this when you expanded from IRS employees, which is not a small number, about 10,000 people, I think, to, the millions of potential taxpayers here?
We were able to take advantage of the cloud technology, right, to be able to take advantage so that we would have the ability for the taxpayers to upload that image. We had the capability and we were able to leverage it.
And a given taxpayer, is there a case file, let's say, or a folder for each taxpayer such that somehow with the link that went to that taxpayer and whatever they upload is tied to their name or their Social Security number or something like that? How do you keep it all organized?
We basically have the capability for the correspondence for that particular notice or letter to be uploaded, and it is housed in I'm going to call it buckets, right? It's housed in a group of buckets, and we're able to access that correspondence directly from the taxpayer.
We're speaking with Wanda Brown. She is the project director for digital services and digitalization in the Wage and Investment Division of the Internal Revenue Service. I think I got that all right. And what about employees who would normally get piles of mail? And as we know, mail was a problem, physical mail, postal mail for the IRS when people weren't in the office. There must have been some retraining for people to read digital uploaded versions versus slitting open mail and unfolding it.
Absolutely. We have a very easy to use user interface, and they're able to get into the tool, and I'm going to, characterize it in buckets, and they're able to get into their particular set of notices that they're looking for, that they've been assigned to work. They're able to get into it. They're able to identify the actual correspondence that they're looking for and be able to use a digital image.
And do the buckets have identifiers such that suppose someone says, okay, we'll check on this later, and another operator, another IRS person can open that bucket and see what's happening?
Absolutely. And once an operator has accessed the particular set of correspondence, they can identify it and mark it as archived, right? That they're using it, that they've already processed it. And that helps us with our inventory.
It seems like this would also enable more people to work more effectively at home or telework.
It does provide that capability because it is digital, that they can access it from where they're working, right? So they can access it from the location where they have been assigned to work. And if that happens to be their home, they can do that as well.
Because in most federal situations, people are not allowed to take official correspondence and records to their homes, right? So when it's not the piece of paper, then they're okay accessing it in a digital format from the location of the PC.
Absolutely. Being able to access it digitally allows some additional flexibilities to access the information.
All right. And give us some statistics. How extensively has this been used? I guess it was deployed in time for the most recent tax season.
Yeah. So, very recently we have hit a milestone. We've had over 1 million submissions through the document upload tool. I think we hit that earlier this week. So that's a big milestone for us. We're celebrating that. And we expect more word of mouth, more people being able to access and get the benefit from that tool.
And I guess I should have asked this in the beginning. When you send out a notice to a taxpayer, do you send it to them as paper? Because, email from the IRS could be suspect as to its authenticity.
Right now, people still receive a physical paper notice from the IRS. Those that have an online account capability, we are working on the capability for them to receive notices and letters through their online account. But right now, for those that do not, they will receive a physical, notice in the mail from the IRS.
So it would be wise then for a given taxpayer to establish an account so that they know that notices coming through that account are genuine, almost like signing up for a doctor practices portal.
Yes, that capability for online account is out there. And we do have lots of taxpayers that take advantage of that. It is not mandatory, but it is definitely a feature that we have out there for our taxpayers.
And how does this help efficiency of tax processing?
So, how it helps with the efficiency of tax processing. If you think about it, I'm going to speak just from the correspondence perspective, just being able to send that in digitally. We've already talked about how that allows our employees to access the data digitally, and then they're able to process it, right? That is one of the things that we continue to focus on so that when we get it in, we're able to digitize it and digitalize it. Now, those are the things that we're working on. We're a little bit away from being able to send data downstream. That's one of the goals. Our intent is for our taxpayers to be able to interface with the IRS just like they do with any financial institution. It'll take us we've got a roadmap to get there. It's going to take us a while, but that is the goal.
And I would think this would help load balance among your workforce, because if you don't have to deal with physical paper, that means you don't have to be in the same zip code as the physical paper.
It definitely provides additional flexibility on how we take in the work and how we process the work and how we can shift the work, right? Definitely provides some additional flexibilities there. But I want to stress, there are some segment of our taxpayer community that prefer to send paper into the IRS, and that is okay. That is okay for them to do that. We are prepared to be able to receive their physical paper if they're not able to use, some of the digital services that we'll be putting out.
Wanda Brown is project director for the Digital Services and Digitalization Project in the Wage and Investment Division of the Internal Revenue Service. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I enjoy talking with you.
And she, along with Darnita Trower and Gerald Johnson, are finalists in this year's Service to America Medals program. We'll post this interview along with all of our Sammys finalists at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Tune into the Federal Drive anytime you want. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.